Of course. Do you
Yeah.
remember? So can you
Yeah.
briefly talk about it? For example, how to make a good impression, especially at a first meeting?
First meeting. I remember that we talked about we should be yourself.
Of course.
Yeah, because we are genuine. Yeah, and we dress um we dress appropriately. We
Of course. Dress
Yeah,
up. Yeah, of course. We need to dress up.
because the way we dress is means the way we respect others.
Of course, perfect. So of course, this way we can show respect, yeah, of course, to others. Very good.
And
So
we should be positive. We don't complain or say something negatively. We always uh, have we should have a positive attitude
of course,
to impress ourselves.
of
And
course.
uh, the important thing is we are we should be punctual.
Yeah, of course, of course. So the most important or the important another important thing is after is of course you can say we should be, but is to be. Why not? Is to
It's
be
to be, yeah,
punctual because
yeah.
you are mentioning an item, so why not is to be punctual? And that is correct, right? Yeah, perfect. Well, of course. And now, actually, first of all, let's watch a short video and after that we will discuss it, okay? Just let's see what we have. And oh, let me share my screen.
4. You're in conversation, things are humming along nicely, and then out of nowhere, the awkward silence rears its head. At that moment, your mind goes completely blank, you don't know what to say, and you can sense the other person's eyes wandering as they look for someone else to talk to. That scenario sucks, so here are 5 tips to make sure that you never run out of things to say in conversation again. First, when you find yourself in that situation where your mind has gone blank, play reminds me of. That just means that you look to the environment around you and say, you know, that reminds me of, and then fill in the blank. It's great for opening new conversational threads, and it can also work as a follow-up when someone finishes telling a story, which is how many groups of friends interact all the time. That's because people are drawn to others who they feel are similar to themselves, and related stories can build that bridge. Just be sure not to repeatedly make your story superior to theirs, or else it can feel like one-upping. Second, when you ask questions, keep them open-ended as often as possible. So rather than saying, oh, you're from Toronto, do you like it there? You might say, how do you like Toronto? I'm curious to hear more about it. The former question invites a one-word response and then awkward silence. The latter gets the other person talking about the things that they like, which is going to open up more conversational threads. Also, just remember the rule that every 3-year-old knows about conversation, which is that simply asking why is a great way to get people to open up more. So when someone mentions that they're a consultant, for instance, you might ask, why did you decide to get into consulting? To be clear, unlike 3-year-olds, you don't have to say the word why over and over and over, but drilling down into their motivations will often get you a deeper connection in conversation. Third, for the worst case scenario, when conversation just flat out stalls, use revival questions. These are non sequiturs that bring conversation back from the dead. Here's 3 of my favorites. If you're in a new group and conversation dies after initial pleasantries, a great revival question is, how do you guys all know one another? There's almost always some kind of story that conversation can build from. If you're only speaking to one person, you can say instead, so what's your story? The great thing about this question is that it is so open-ended that the other person will probably guide you towards the topics that they want to talk about, usually responding with something like, you mean what do I do for work, or what do I like to do for fun? Their tone of voice and enthusiasm will usually tell you the best angle of conversation to continue with. Lastly, for people you already know well, ask them about their exciting plans for the future. This one is nice because it is endlessly renewable, which makes it great for connecting with people in the office or wherever you work. Fourth on the list is to make a complimentary cold read. So if someone is particularly smiley, you might say, "You look like the type who would be great with kids." Or if they're super strong, you might say, "You look like you're pretty into fitness." If you get it right, they're probably going to open up and tell you more about it, but even if you're wrong, you can talk about what it is that gave you that impression in the first place. Either way, you've got new conversational material to work with. And the fifth and final tip is to flip the script so that you're not the one worried about running out of things to say. Instead, allow the other person to move the conversation forward by getting more comfortable with silence. Seriously, 3 seconds might feel like a long time, but if you can just take a deep breath while maintaining easy eye contact, more often than not, the other person will make a comment or ask you a question. Or if you really want to encourage them to continue, repeat back the last few words that they said. This mirroring invites them to elaborate and can often get people to open up in very powerful ways. So there you have it, 5 quick and easy tactics that you can use today to make sure that you never run out of things to say in conversation. If you like these tips and want more advanced tips, you might want to check out an online. If you like these tips.
Okay, so let's talk about them. So play reminds me of. So what do you remember about the first one? What do you remember? So what is that and how? It was too fast. It was too fast.
Yeah, but I don't concentrate at the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, so do you want to listen to beginning or no? You don't. It's like because it's good one. So actually, I want you to try to focus because you need to get used to hearing people when they're talking fast. So do you want to listen again? I knew it was a bit. Make the
Yes,
beginning.
yes,
Yes,
yes, at the
sure,
beginning. Thank
of
you.
course. And just let me say something. Don't need to make notes. Just do what I say. Just listen and get the general idea. Don't write anything. Just, you don't need to know the meaning of all the words that are actually, for example, are discussing or, for example, are said. You don't need to know them. Just pay attention, focus to the general idea to get what it is. And after that, we'll talk about it.
Yes.
Well,
We've all been there before. You're in conversation, things are humming along nicely, and then out of nowhere, the awkward silence rears its head. At that moment, your mind goes completely blank, you don't know what to say, and you can sense the other person's eyes wandering as they look for someone else to talk to. That scenario sucks, so here are 5 tips to make sure that you never run out of things to say in conversation again. First, when you find yourself in that situation where your mind has gone blank, play "reminds me of." That just means that you look to the environment around you and say, that reminds me of, and then fill in the blank. It's great for opening new conversational threads, and it can also work as a follow-up when someone finishes telling a story, which is how many groups of friends interact all the time. That's because people are drawn to others who they feel are similar to themselves, and related stories can build that bridge. Just be sure not to repeatedly make your story superior to theirs, or else it can feel like one-upping.
so the first one remind me of. So of course it happens. You want to start talking to someone and your mind is empty, it's blank, like you don't know what to say. Okay, a band, you go to a restaurant and you just, you're listening to music. Like, I don't know, you're playing, the band is playing actually music. And you said that, actually, it reminds me of, for example, the day that we went. You just start talking about something. You tell your story. So how about this? So tell me, do you agree with this method? Or for example, do you think it's really a good way to start conversation?
Yes. That is the way to open a new conversation. Yes. I often use I talk I can talk to anything to remind myself and my friends about something, and the first thing we talked about that.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe I understand the first method reminded me of.
Great. Of
Yes,
course.
yeah.
Of course you.
Reminder a day or the time we have together.
Yeah, of
And
course. It can be, for example, so when you, I don't know, you just not music, so everything. It can be, for example, I don't know, taste of food. It can be color. It can be an aroma. So everything. So it can help you remember something. And when you start talking, of course, the point is here, according to the video, not to talk a lot. So just let the other person talks. So like
yes,
some
yes,
people start talking their stories and don't let other people talk. So it's not a good way. So it's like, you make people feel uncomfortable, but it's really good way to make your conversation. So start to begin your conversation. Well, the next one, let's see how.
Second, when you ask questions, keep them open-ended as often as possible. So rather than saying, "Oh, you're from Toronto. Do you like it there?" you might say, "How do you like Toronto? I'm curious to hear more about it." The former question invites a one-word response and then awkward silence. The latter gets the other person talking about the things that they like, which is going to open up more conversational threads. Also, just remember the rule that every 3-year-old knows about conversation, which is that simply asking why is a great way to get people to open up more. So when someone mentions that they're a consultant, for instance, you might ask, "Why did you decide to get into consulting?" To be clear, unlike 3-year-olds, you don't have to say the word why over and over and over, but drilling down into their motivations will often get you a deeper connection in conversation. Third, for the worst case scenario,
How about this one? Open-ended questions. So first of all, what it means, open-ended questions.
um, I maybe the yes no questions is the closer questions, and the
Close-ended, of
open,
course.
yeah, then open ended questions is um uh, the questions to make the others want to tell more and more and more.
Of
Yeah.
course, yeah, actually they require, for example, people, or for example, the person who you are talking to elaborate actually on their opinion. So what do you think? So they state, express. So of course, like why, WH questions. But when you ask like yes, no, just, yes, do you like, okay, yes, and it's done. So especially
Mhm.
this is the first time, so people are, I don't know, feel a bit shy, like, to open themselves to talk. So it's like just yes, just no, it's not a good way. So open-ended question, the second one is good way.
when conversation just flat out stalls,
Expand.
use revival questions. These are non sequiturs that bring conversation back from the dead. Here's 3 of my favorites. If you're in a new group and conversation dies after initial pleasantries, a great revival question is, "How do you guys all know one another?" There's almost always some kind of story that conversation can build from. If you're only speaking to one person, you can say instead, "So what's your story?" The great thing about this question is that it is so open-ended that the other person will probably guide you towards the topics that they want to talk about, usually responding with something like, "You mean, what do I do for work, or what do I like to do for fun?" Their tone of voice and enthusiasm will usually tell you the best angle of conversation to continue with. Lastly, for people you already know well, ask them about their exciting plans for the future. This one is nice because it is endlessly renewable, which makes it great for connecting with people in the office or wherever you work. Fourth on the list is to make a complimentary cold read. So if someone is particularly smiley, you might say, "You look like the type who would be great with kids." Or if they're super strong, you might say, "You look like you're pretty into fitness." If you get it right, they're probably going to open up and tell you more about it. But even if you're wrong, you can talk about what it is that gave you that impression in the first place.
Well, so tell me about, okay, revival questions. So what you got?
Revivals question. Um, I think that um We asked that revival questions to require um, others to talk more
Yeah,
or
of
to
course.
share their story.
Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, very good. It's something like, revival, like, come back. So it's like sometimes we'll feel like, okay, no, we need more here. So it's like, I don't know, there is a silence that is not good. Was, for example, maybe it's annoying. So we need to ask something. So why not? We need to keep conversation going. So, okay, now let's find something to ask. Okay, and of course, make them feel comfortable to answer, to state their opinion, and for example, like this. And, we can motivate them. So it's really important how to make eye contact and, for example, to be, as you said, to be positive, to get. So this is actually why I will question. So, for example, I don't know. So normally it's really good. So, yes, remember. So, for example, you smile very, like, you have a really beautiful smile, just this. Okay. And then I say, oh, so how you can smile this way? And of course, you have to say something. Of course, you don't keep silent when I say this. You smile again and you start talking. This is a question that can be asked. Okay, well,
Either way, you've got new conversational material to work with. And the fifth and final tip is to flip the script so that you're not the one worried about running out of things to say. Instead, allow the other person to move the conversation forward by getting more comfortable with silence. Seriously, 3 seconds might feel like a long time, but if you can just take a deep breath while maintaining easy eye contact, more often than not, the other person will make a comment or ask you a question. Or if you really want to encourage them to continue, repeat back the last few words that they said. This mirroring invites them to elaborate and can often get people to open up in very powerful ways. So there you have it, 5.
well, and the last one.
Uh, we repeat what they said, or we ask um, to make sure they what they said.
It's like, yeah, of course. It's like, you let them talk. So, for
Let
example,
them talk.
yeah, of course. So it's like, for example, when you say flip the script, it means to do something completely differently. Like opposite. I'm talking, now I let you talk. Okay, actually, I change the field. So now it's your turn to talk. And but how? Of course, if I, for example, become silent suddenly, it's like maybe it's a bit uncomfortable. You feel like, okay, what happened? But yes, for example, now I need to drink a bit water, okay, and say, I ask my question, and again, I emphasize it. Really? You do? So it's like, I show my enthusiasm to know your story. So to flip the script, if you want to know the meaning of it, is to do something completely differently or in the opposite way from the way that you are doing is usually done. So it's like, I'm talking, now I let you. It's like it's your turn, and now you talk and I listen. And just I try to, like, for example, show my enthusiasm, interest, that I really like to listen to you. Okay?
Yes.
Wow. And now let's share my screen again to check the book. So, as you can see, we discussed, okay, so we watched the video and the ways, the tips. Which one can be used? So let me say, which one of the tips that we just watched and we heard, so which one can be used to start the conversation? Which one can be used to keep the conversation going?
You asked me.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Which one?
The 5 tips, the 5 tips we just,
Yeah, of course. According to the video,
yes,
my 5 tips that we just heard and we just watched. So which one can be used to start to begin the conversation, and which one can be used to keep the conversation going?
yes, I used to use 5 tips for my conversation. I used to use it. Yeah, but I don't know the tips. I don't know the um. I don't know the. I don't know. Uh, um, I mean that in my conversation, I uh, have a remind me of, or I use open-ended questions, but I don't know that is um, the tips. But
Right.
yes, yes, but I use it. I use it.
Of course.
I
And
know. I don't know the name. I don't know the name of the way to talk.
of
Yeah,
course, you don't need to know the name.
yeah.
You don't need, because we
But
often
now I
use.
know. But
Of
now
course.
I learn and I will use it in my conversation to
Of
make it
course. Perfect.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, to remind me of something, and open-ended questions normally are used to begin, to start the conversation. And after that, okay, we have all the other tips to keep conversation going. For example, flip script, like, okay, to let them talk, or for example, to talk on different topics. So, like this. Well, now, small talk, the first word or noun phrase. So small talk, like chit chat. So if I want to give you a good synonym, I say chit chat is a good synonym. So it's like conversation about ordinary, not really important subjects. So we normally chit chat with family, friends. So I'm not really into conversation that is nothing but small talk. You know, to me, it's a little bit pointless. So, but some people like chit chat. So why not? They like to chit chat. So the first word. How about you?
Mm, yes. At the beginning of the conversation, we will have a small talk, and then after the small talk, we talk to a participle participle subject or
Yeah,
topic.
of course.
Yeah.
Of course, of course. So it's why not? So we can actually have, like, some polite small talk. So I think after some polite small talk, actually, the conversation can turn to, for example, something more specific. So why not? So the first word, it's okay. So small talk or chit chat. Well, so break the ice. We talked about this one. Do you remember previous
Yeah.
session? Yeah,
Yeah.
to make people feel more comfortable. Okay, I want to ask you a question. Imagine you are a teacher and this is the first session that you want to meet your students. It's really important to break the ice because it's your role, because you are the teacher. So, and tell me what you do. What do you do to break the ice at the first session
Mhm.
of a class?
Maybe I will compliment his his dress. Yeah, her dress, or her eyes, or her hair. Yeah.
Very.
Yes, and I can ask something like uh, about um, about about the school, for example, this is the new student, or have you ever studied at this school? Uh, how do you go to school today? Yeah.
Fact, of course. So asking some questions, yeah, of course, very good. But the first one was perfect, yeah, of course. So you can be a good teacher. Yeah, making compliments, like, say something good about someone. That's perfect. Why not? Because you can draw their attention. So once they smile, it's okay. You can make connections. Okay. So I think it's a perfect way to break the ice. Well, so getting to know each other. So of course, we need to spend time to get to know each other. So step by step, and of course it doesn't happen at once. So we need time. But it's very important to get to know everyone in the team as quickly as possible if we are going to work with each other. So as a newcomer. So how long for you? How long does it take to get to know people? So a long time, no. So it's like you become friendly very quickly. So how?
I firstly I smile. I give. I smile. I greet her and smile at her first. After that, I ask her name is. I ask her name, and I introduce shortly, briefly to introduce myself.
Yeah, of course. And what questions? When when you meet someone for the first time, and of course you would like to get to know each other because it's, I don't know, for example a colleague, or for example classmate, so a roommate, everyone in your culture. I want to know about forbidden questions. So it's like, not to ask. So because we have some questions, for example, yes, it's good to introduce yourself and ask some questions, but what questions can't be asked because they are considered as maybe personal questions.
Yeah,
So,
maybe um about work. About work, we don't ask deeply about their work or the um, about the finance, about uh, how much you earn, or
salary.
what's your salary? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. How
Yeah.
about age? Is it okay
Yes,
to ask someone's age?
in Vietnam we can ask them about their age. Age, yes. But
Okay.
maybe in the US or in the Western place, we cannot ask
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, of course it's okay. So if someone wants to, they can say, but it's not something that we ask, of course. It's like people normally don't ask this question, like, how old are you? Or for example, yeah, we don't ask. But it's okay. So it's like, if someone would like, of course, their choice, so they can say. Well, and yeah, this one, this one, make a good impression on someone to cause someone to notice and admire you. So, and do you think the ways that men and women can make good impression is different?
Maybe I think that um, the difference between the men and women.
Yeah. So yeah, of course. So do you think it's different how to make a good impression for men and women? Do you think it's different?
Maybe we can talk to the women many topics, but we don't share on to the men. Impression.
No, actually, I mean the first thing, for example, as a woman, when we want to make a good impression, especially, so the first meeting, so it's like the first time that you meet someone, I don't know, it's a date, or so of course the way that you dress up, you get ready is important. So how you, I don't know, it's like, for example, how you smile, how you talk. So it's different, or no, you think we have the same pattern and rules for both men and women?
Yes, I think I have the same rules. Yeah, the same rule
Yeah.
with because I I I am polite to all of them.
Yeah, of
Everyone,
course.
to everyone, I have the same
Yeah.
attitude with others. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And I think maybe one of the most important things, so that I think is really important, especially to make a good impression, is a good scent. Scent means smell, but we use it for perfume. So scent is means smell, but we use for perfume. For example, we when we get a good smell of perfume, we don't say such a good smell. We say scent. So that's really important. So I think like not only perfume. So it's like I don't know, a good scent. It can be I don't know. You washed your hands with a, for example, a good washing liquid, something like this. So like this. And let me talk about these two words. For example, when you talk about something like grass, for example, freshly cut grass, you say smell. But when, or bread, smell, aroma. For coffee, you say aroma. But for uh, something like perfume, you say scent. Like, you know, it's like the characteristic smell given of by a substance, something like this. For example, flower, perfume, we say scent. So I think it's really important. Well, so let's have a look at these phrases. So open-ended, small talk, break the ice, get to know. And so can you use all of them in a whole to give me some advice?
I like to be I like to make good impressions on others. And I um, I use this way to make me confident in front of others, especially in the first time I meet them. I often break the ice, and ready to ready to talk, to come and ask others to introduce myself first, to break the ice. And then I said that I am the new one in the group or in the class, and I would like uh, um, to have their favor. Yeah. Yes. And uh, after that, if they after breaking the ice, maybe the people will open their heart to talk more, and we have a time to uh, we have to get we have the time getting to know others. Yeah,
Get to know,
by
of course. Perfect. Yeah,
each
we have to.
other. Yes, by share more about other things like um, mm, yeah, maybe like get to know more about the others by the small talk.
Yeah.
By
So,
yeah, by small talk or humorous story, for example. Yeah,
of
and
course.
then
Yeah.
if we have the time, we will talk more by open-ended questions um, to ask to require the other share more about themselves.
Of
Yes,
course.
that's that's all. That is the way to make a good impression. I think it's useful uh, for for me.
Praise, very good. So you can say it always works for me.
Yeah,
So it's
always
useful.
works for
Yeah, of
me.
course.
Yes,
So when something works, it always works. Okay, and you can say just the only point here, get to know about people. No. Yeah, of course, we know about people. We try to know about people, but get to know, to be familiar. So we don't say about, just get to know each other. It's the best way
yes,
or good way to get to know each other. So totally perfect.
yes. Thank
Okay.
you. Mhm.
Well, so second conditional, you know the structure, but the only use here that is mentioned is to actually give advice. So we can use second conditional to give advice using the structure of if I were you. So for example, okay, I met a guy and I don't know, for example, how to behave at a, for example, second date or something like this. And now I want you to give me some advice. So I ask you for advice. So you say, if I were you, so about were or was, you know that for I we use was. But because of if for conditionals, you can use were for subject I as well. So it's okay to say, if I were you, it's better. So if I was, no. If I were, so it's okay. Say if I was, it's okay, but it's not really common to be used. So if I were you, I would, and base for. So if I were you, of course, you know that second conditional has different uses, not only this one. So you know that to talk about something unreal or imaginary situation, unreal situation, we use second conditional. If I were you, I would plus base form a verb. So to give advice. So let me ask you, okay, I always fail to break the ice, no matter what I do. Or just let me say, you can also use the negative form. So for example, if I were you, I wouldn't. If I were you, I wouldn't buy flowers. I think, it doesn't work and it's not good, for example, for the first meeting. If I were you, I wouldn't, for example, talk to your parents, or I would. So negative or affirmative form. So let's talk. I always fail to break the ice, and no matter what I do, it always ends up in an awkward silence. Do you have any advice?
I always fear the person. Mm. Yes. My advice, my advice to have a good conversation or to break the ice.
The ice.
Break the ice. My advice for breaking the ice is make questions, making questions.
So just try to use wish. So if I were you, I would. So try to use it.
Yeah. If I were you, I could ask others many questions about about their life or about their family.
Yeah, of course. So if I were you, I would, of course. Very good. And I really want to talk to the girl in the red dress, but I was a little bit nervous. Do you think I should go for it?
If I were you, I give a compliment about their dress, about her dress. Um, yes, and I show that I like her dress.
Yeah, very good. So if I
Or
were
you
you,
can, if I were you, I would ask, where can I buy the dress like her? Where I can buy the dress?
yeah, well, of course. So if I were you, I would ask her. Yeah, I would ask her, for example, just, it's like, no, it doesn't work because if you are a boy and say, where can I buy this
Yeah,
dress?
yeah.
No, yeah, okay, so why do you need this? So
Yeah, yeah.
actually, I think, yeah. So tell me if you
If
identify yourself as a man or no, so it's not.
if I a man, if I were you and as a man, I would ask where I can buy the dress, the beautiful dress that like you. For my wife's birthday, for
Yeah.
my birthday of my wife. Yeah.
So, for example, if I were you, I would say that I would ask or I would make compliments about her
Yes,
dress. Oh,
about the
such a
dress. Yeah.
nice dress. Like, so, for
Okay.
example, this color looks really great on you. So
Yes.
why not?
Yes.
So, girls love. Yeah. But what,
Okay.
for example, so you are a boy and you say, where I can say, I was like, oh, really? You're a guy? So it's like, yeah, everything will ruin. And what topic should I talk on the first date? Do you have any suggestions? So if I were you, like on a first date.
If I were you, I um, wouldn't talk too much. Uh, yeah, I wouldn't talk too much. What the topic? Yes.
Yeah.
If I were you, I good. I would uh, ask uh, about their lives,
Yeah, so
about their work,
yeah. Yeah, I think
the
work,
about their hobbies, maybe hobbies.
of course. Yeah. So if I were you, I would try to be all ears to listen to the girl.
Yes,
So
yes,
because
yes.
girls like to be listened, like to be heard. So of course. So not to talk too much and try to listen more, just listen carefully. And don't forget about making reaction. That is really important. So for girls to get good reactions, it was like, so you need to show your interest. I think men actually need to do really hard work to attract maybe a girl. So it's really important. So maybe sometimes, ladies, yeah, so at a first glance, they they say, okay, I'm into this guy, it's okay, handsome, but the way that they speak and behave is really important, I think. So to keep a
Mhm.
relationship going. Well, okay, we have some general questions, so you can use the suggested ideas for your answer. Or no, it's your choice. What should you do to make a great impression on the first conversation? You can use these suggestions.
Yes. On the first conversation, uh, I um, I must be I must impress to others. So um I am a good listener,
Correct.
and uh, I ask to uh, I ask to know about others, about my friends. Yeah, and when I have a chance um, to share my feelings or to share something about me, I will I will show that I am a confident. Um, I am confident, but humble, not too confident.
Yeah, of course. So not selfish, but confident. So I didn't get when we say too confident. Why?
Mm, because I think um, the people to, don't like the person who show too much about others,
Like
um,
overconfident, you mean?
overconfident. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe people don't like
Mhm.
overconfidence, or for example, people who are overconfident, like too much. Yeah, you said. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Well,
Um,
I think it's not overconfidence. Actually, I think it's like being self-centered. You know what I mean? It's like you
yes. Yes.
only, yeah, because I don't know, of course, I'm not sure about it, but I think people like, for example, people who are really confident, maybe too, but you know, some people are, I don't know, self-centered. They have an ego. Like, you know, they only just, you know, self-involved. They talk about themselves. They, you know, think, you know, actually, like, I don't know, maybe this one is a bit negative. So, of course, let me write. So I think being self-centered or self-involved. So you can something like egoistic, like I think. I don't know, like not really
Egoistic.
good. Yeah, of course, it's not really good because yeah, it's like you only just talk about yourself. You show your, I don't know, your own interest or thoughts. Just, you know, like this. I think this one is not really good. Wow.
Maybe we just talk something about ourselves, not too much about
Yeah.
ourselves.
Even if we listen to the other people, we don't care because actually our thought is our priority. So it's like, you know, like selfish. We are selfish in thought. And for example, it's not really, you know, having ego is not really good. Just, you know, it's like, I don't know, a bit annoying. Well, and do you think that first impressions are always accurate? This one is really important, I think.
Yes, the first impressions always accurate.
Do you agree with this?
Uh,
I think no.
always. Yes, I think so because in my uh, my date or the first thing the first meet the first meeting in the first meeting with someone, I can read I can know or I can read their characteristic at the first meeting
Yeah, of course.
at the first meet. Yeah.
At the first, and you know, I think that I believe that, you know, sometimes people pretend because, for example, okay, as a boy, yeah, you met a good girl, beautiful, gorgeous, so why not? Maybe you have some negative aspects, but you don't show. This is the first impression. So you try to actually make a good image, a good picture of yourself in her mind. So I think sometimes people pretend to be or to do something that is not, you know. So because of this, maybe it's not. For example, I don't know, they
Okay. Maybe it's accurate 50%.
yeah, 50. I do agree, not totally. Yeah, yeah, partly, we can say partly accurate. I do agree with you. Yeah. Well, okay, so we discussed this topic. Okay, and I want to ask you another question. That is, maybe it's not from book, but so uh, do you think I'm asking about appearance, face and body. So not character, because this is the first time that you met someone. Maybe it can be a blind date, or I don't know, you come across someone on the street. So it's something unexpected. Okay. The first thing that can attract you, what is the first thing that can attract you? That from actually that person. So teeth, eyes, the color of skin, scent. So what is that?
Uh, I think the look or the physical appearance is not important,
It's
but
not important.
the yes, but the more important image is attitude or the way you talk or the way you behave. I mean that the attitude their attitudes is
Yeah.
important.
So
Then
their attitude towards
experience.
you. Yeah, of course. So it's not important. So appearance is not important at all.
It's less important.
Less important. Yeah, of course. Less important than character and personality. So, but you know, the first meeting, especially, it's very difficult to understand and I don't know, get to know people. So just, you know, the first, so maybe can be the first thing. Shoes,
Yeah, the way
dress,
you talk.
clothes,
I think the main image is the way you talk. Um,
of course.
the your heighten or your
Yeah,
body
your
care
height,
is more. Yeah, I think
of course.
the attitude it is more important than experience.
Of course, very good. Well, so that's it. So we discussed this topic in detail. Do you have any questions related to this, right?
No questions. Thank you.
And thank you for being perfect today and have a great day.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
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 Bye. See you.